enhancing drugs is a lot like cheating on a test, taking the easy way out where everyone's doing the hard work to achieve what they want. PEDs aren't only hurting the athlete, but they're ruining the integrity of college athletics today. This has become a big community issue because success is so highly praised today in college athletics that cheating is sometimes overlooked. That being said, today we're going to talk about how PEDs are taking scholarships and playing time away from hardworking athletes, how it's ruining the name of all athletes, and how it is just ruining the integrity of the accomplishments these athletes are achieving today. My first main point is how they're taking scholarships and playing time away from athletes. According to CNBC, the average Division I college scholarship in 2013 was $13,821. So if you're using performance-enhancing drugs in high school and you achieve that scholarship, you're taking it away from a hardworking athlete that potentially won't be able to go to college because you have that scholarship and they won't be able to afford it. And if that athlete does get a walk-on, they won't be able to work in college and they'll have to pay for college, so they most likely won't be able to go through and afford it. In addition to that, as a college athlete, I know that less than half the athletes on a college roster actually get to participate in NCAA competition. So scholarship athletes who are working hard to try to get on the field are getting their spots taken by people who are using performance-enhancing drugs and really don't deserve the spot and don't deserve to achieve what they're doing. Next, Paul will talk about how performance-enhancing drugs are giving college athletes a bad name.
Okay, so the second main point is by using performance-enhancing drugs, athletes are giving other college athletes a bad reputation. Like when the public sees one person do drugs, they can assume that all are starting, all do drugs, and I don't know, just like it creates a misconception about the sport or even the school. So the public sees and hears more than the athletes think. First of all, the media is at every event. So you got women, children, families looking up to all these athletes. And if a consumer has a positive attitude towards a sport event, then his or her behavior may very well manifest itself through increased attendance. So that's from the International Sports Journal when they're studying whether people will go to a sporting event and get a positive outcome or a negative outcome. So if they get a positive outcome, they will keep going. So if they hear about using sports-enhancing drugs, they're like, I don't want to go watch that because it's cheating. So with that being said, the media reportings of cheating, that the attendance will go down. And then, which brings me to my next point. Only 1% of college athletes test positive for a banned substance in the past few years. That's from deltacollege.edu. With that being said, all these athletes that look big, strong, and worked for what they all have could be put under this label that they use drugs or, oh, he's on steroids because he's huge and massive. So the small group ruins it for everyone else, and the bad reputation can go from the athlete, team, sport, school, all the way down the line. And next, I'll go on to talk about how drugs set a bad example and have a long-term effects in these athletes' lives. So the final point is setting a bad example and effects later in life. So it compares to cheating on a test, like Bryce mentioned before. Why risk being caught? Cheaters never truly win, which will be explained in a bit. Second, some argue that if legalized, then it's fair for everyone because they all have access to the drugs. Well, that's not always true. It goes against the NCAA's policy and purpose. If you go on their website, it said the NCAA is founded to keep athletes safe for the well-being physically and mentally on and off the field, from ncaa.org. And it makes no sense when these drugs are harmful to say that, oh, we're still supporting the well-being of these athletes. So there's really no well-being in harmful drugs at all. And third, the performance-enhancing drugs are proven to cause health problems later in life, as almost everybody knows. The use of drugs raises the number of health concerns from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. There was a study a couple of years ago. And some of the symptoms are impotence, worsening acne, balding, liver damage especially is one of the biggest ones, and blood clotting, increased blood clotting. That's from drugfree.org. And with that makes me transition to our conclusion with sports enhancing drugs being bad for college athletes' health and integrity of sports. There's really one conclusion that we can draw from this problem. Taking sports enhancing drugs aren't only hurting the athletes, they're hurting the integrity of the sport. So first we talked about how PED users take scholarships and playing chances from athletes that are working hard for them and doing the right thing. And then next we talked about it gives non-users a bad reputation. And then third and lastly, they set a bad example for younger generations to come into the sports.
So if you ever hear of somebody using performance enhancing drugs, tell them they're not only hurting themselves, but they're ruining the true sport they love. So together, we can make college athletics more about fun and excitement and less about the controversy.